Question 1. What would you suggest members of this community should be paying attention to at this moment in time? Lately, I find myself reaching out to people, friends, family, colleagues, who may be losing hope as the challenges of 2020 wear on. I'd suggest that we all try to spend some time with others to share why we are hopeful. Pick anything, the topic doesn't really matter. People feed off the sentiments of others, and negativity and despair breed just that. Positivity and sparks of hope serve to lift others, and there are many, I think, who would benefit from being lifted up these days. From a broader social, societal perspective, especially coming out of such a disruptive time, I think a lot about how we can ensure that all people are prepared to participate in the economy of the future. The world is facing a reskilling crisis. The World Economic Forum estimates that in the next 2 years, by 2022, 42% of core skills required to perform existing jobs are expected to significantly change. If we do nothing, it will exacerbate the growing divide between the world's rich and poor and make it increasingly difficult, if not impossible, to successfully address the critical issues we face today. Second question, how are you personally navigating the moment and taking care of your own mental wellness? Well, I'm taking advantage of my high school and college age kids being home and being grounded from all sports and other activities. And that combined with me being grounded from business travel has resulted in many more family moments that we, under more normal circumstances, would never have. That said, I am ready to get back to normal. And I, like many, I think I'm fighting the temptation to hunker down. I'm trying to be more intentional about how and how often I interact with others in spontaneous ways. Trying to replicate that water cooler conversation that would happen more naturally if we were working together in the same place or on the road together. And sharing moments of joy, even a bit of humor, is a consistently rewarding part of my day. Question 3, what is the most important book you've read and how did it influence you? So I may be a bit unusual in that I do not point to individual books or mentors. I'm asked this question frequently, and it's a bit frustrating in that it always seems somehow too limiting. I am and want to be inspired and motivated by a wide range of influences and sources. That said, though, I'll share with you one experience that taught me a really valuable lesson. In high school, my graphics art teacher was Robert Fulghum, just before he became the best-selling author of books like All I Ever Needed to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. And he shared many of his stories with us in class. And later I read an experience of his that drove home the fact that there's a significant difference between a problem and an inconvenience. And as he observed, he said, life is lumpy, and a lump in your oatmeal, a lump in the throat, and a lump in your breast are not the same lump. And he encouraged us to recognize this difference. And that's a lesson I carry with me every day. Fourth question, what is your favorite cause or nonprofit to support and why? I'm a supporter of LifeWire, an organization that's dedicated to preventing and ending domestic violence. My commitment to the issue was born early in my life, from listening to my mother serve as a crisis line operator for the Eastside Domestic Violence Program. When I was a child, over the course of many years, my brother and I heard hundreds of stories. The hardest stories to hear were the ones where children were involved and perpetrators were given a second, third, even fourth chance by the survivor because they'd been promised to treat them better. It seemed to me that abusive people kept to their abusive ways. The emotions I felt from seeing my mother catch and redirect the pain felt by women and men, they were sometimes victims too, left an indelible mark on me. Those feelings helped me set the foundation for my zero-tolerance stance on abuse, in the workplace or otherwise. Last question, number 5. Can you provide any advice on how you're thinking about the next 6 months? I have a few different thoughts on this. First off, I believe there'll be a greater need for effective human-centered change management. It's a bit hard to fathom with all the change we've encountered over the past year. But from the election results to the possible implementation of a vaccine to something resembling a return to work, more than ever, it'll be critical that leaders and all of us remain flexible and deeply in touch with people's situations and tolerances. I'm also going to be closely observing how the expectations, the social contract as it were, that employees have with their employers and vice versa have changed. The seismic shift that COVID has caused has created a fundamentally new normal in this regard, and it will begin to manifest itself more fully after we return to more normal working conditions. How well leaders acknowledge and adapt to this change will play a significant role in the success of their teams and organizations. I'm also going to study how risk is perceived and processed, especially among our younger members of the team. For some previously risk-tolerant people, COVID has conditioned them to eschew risk. It feels more dangerous than before. Meaningful innovation requires risk-taking, so I'm going to keep my eye on this dynamic and adapt as necessary. I appreciate being part of this community and sharing my thoughts.